Okay. Alright, hello everyone. First of all, thank you all for showing up at 9 a.m. on a Friday. You guys are kind of crazy, but we appreciate it. Yeah, I'm Barnawal, that's MrFickles, so welcome to the strategy session that we're doing, which is playing tall in TerraMystiCon. And so most people associate playing tall in TerraMystiCon with Swarmlings, which is reasonable, but we're, like, the point of this kind of like strategy session is to explain how to play tall with all factions. So some of the concepts we talk about will apply to Swarmlings as well, of course, but we're not going to highlight Swarmlings. Like, we all know, or a lot of us know how to play Swarmlings. We don't need to teach that. So, without further ado, let's get going. So, our overview is kind of as follows. We're going to start with a broader definition, some principles behind playing tall in TerraMystica, what you're looking for, why it's a good thing sometimes. We're also going to look at general considerations in the setup for when you should consider playing tall. It's not something you can do every game, or you can't do it well every game. You can try. It's not going to always work. And yeah. But yeah, there's some things you're looking for in the setup in particular, so we'll highlight those. And then kind of nice, the meat of it is we're going to go through 2 example tall games with atypical tall factions. And yeah, there's secret faction number 1 and secret faction number 2. You have to stay to find out what they are. Alright, so we'll start with just a kind of a definition, I guess, of playing tall. Simply, it's just not building many structures. You know, typically when you play TerraMystica, you're trying to build a lot of structures, like it seems like kind of the point of the game. But yeah, playing tall, you're just not building as many. More specifically, we kind of, or particularly this is Fickles' definition, but I kind of agree with it. Like a true tall game is one where you finish with 10 or fewer structures on the board. And this kind of just allows for a maximum of 2 towns. But realistically, it's a little more like broad. You can have a tall game with 7 structures, you can have a tallish game with 11 or 12. It can vary a bit. But just generally, you're not doing that much. So from a strategic perspective, at least the way I kind of think of playing tall is that you're playing to punt network. You just don't really care so much about network scoring. If you score a network, great, but you're not really playing for that. And there's advantages and disadvantages of this. So the main advantage is that you can use your resources to score more efficiently. You're not using resources to fight for network, and so you have more resources to use in other areas of the game. It also generally requires less total resources. You're building less after all. And you can kind of play your own game. Like when you're fighting for network and building more structures, you have to fight to secure territory. You have to try to win network, basically, build a lot of structures. And when you're playing tall and hunting network, you don't care about that. You can kind of just do like Swarmlings do, right? Just do what you want to do, basically. And then of course there's disadvantages. First of all, you just have less scored options. So obviously not running for network, that's like an option you're cutting off right away. You're also scoring less with dwelling points in particular, because you're not building that many dwellings. And you also produce fewer resources throughout the game. So when you have a lot of structures, you produce more resources in TerraMystica, and so the big thing you miss out on a tall game is often workers. You just have less dwellings on the board a lot of the time, so you produce less workers. So you do have to consider that. Okay, so there's a number of kind of priorities in the game when you're playing tall that you want to aim for. A lot of them are very setup dependent, so it's not always precise things you're aiming for when you're playing tall, but these are just some things that you want to consider or have in your mind kind of as you're trying to play tall. So in the early game, I think we kind of agree that as usual you want to just get a economy going. You still need resources, you still need stuff going to play tall. And you also want to secure town territory. You generally want 2 towns playing tall, and it's nice to secure that early so you don't have to worry about it later and you can do other things in the mid-game with your resources. And so the big thing for this is spades. So the usual spade bonus tile, as well as a single dig and double dig action can be very useful. You don't need spades around one always, like there's other strategies, but this is often a good strategy for playing tall and securing early spades and building early dwellings. Once you're in the mid to late game, you really want to focus on scoring efficiency. So again, because you have less avenues to score when playing tall, you need to score efficiently with the avenues that you do have. And kind of the key is because you're, I think I mentioned this, because you're not worried about building as many structures, you can afford to reallocate some of these resources into efficient scoring mechanisms earlier in the game. So I kind of think of, even as early as round 2, sometimes you can get scoring going that other factions can't do without belaboring themselves. But really, rounds 3 and 4 in particular, I think at least are big ones where you can score a lot of points. Oops. Okay, and this, some of you may know certain, but just to highlight some methods of scoring efficiently that are always useful in TerraMystiCon, but especially you want to look out for in tall games. The first one is combining scoring mechanisms. So a big thing here is building training posts. In the training post round, when you have water 1, maybe you have the bonus tile, maybe you have air 1, things like that, where you're getting a lot of points for what you're doing, basically. Second one is repeatable, or like some people call them abusable scoring methods. And so some of these are certain bonus tiles, like the big building tile. If you build your stronghold in round 1 and you land the big building tile 3 times, you're scoring 12 points from that, which is really efficient, assuming your stronghold is good, assuming it's not like Halfling stronghold or something. And then things like the ship BP tile as well, and some faction abilities. So dwarves, let's say for tunneling, if you get a lot of workers, you can score a lot of tunnel points late in the game very efficiently. 2 workers and 4 points is great conversion. So things like that you want to keep your eyes open for. Really always in TerraMystiCon, but like especially playing tall. And then thirdly is easy cult points if you can get them. It can be another very efficient avenue of scoring. So for favor tiles when playing tall, another thing you want to consider is scoring favors. So from my experience, you usually want at least 1 scoring favor. I don't know if you've ever had a really good tall game without a scoring favor. I don't think I have. And I typically... Yeah, you need points. Typically, I want water 1, or maybe air 1, depending on when you build trading posts, over earth 1. For obvious reasons, you're not building a ton of dwellings. The earth 1 can still be useful sometimes, it kind of depends. But water 1 in particular, I think is a staple of a lot of tall games. You're just naturally upgrading a lot. Economic favors, it really just depends on the faction and the setup. I don't think this is too different from a regular game, expansive game, in what you want. You know, if you're dwarves, you like Earth 2 a lot, mermaids might like Fire 1, etc. So cult presence, so again, early cult position is really nice, not just for the points, but also the cult rewards. You don't have too much economy again, you don't have too many structures on the board. Rewards are really helpful to get things going. And then town tiles is another thing to consider with priorities. Usually in tall games, in my experience, when you have 2 towns, you want high scoring towns, or culty towns. But again, it's situational. An early economic town can still be very helpful. If you're on ship EP, for example, a ship town, I love that combination. I think it's just really nice, and tall games kind of no exception to those kind of things. So that's a bit of for the dark slides.
And yeah, we've changed backgrounds so that even us idiots can keep track of when I hit back and forth the clicker. So I just want to highlight the scoring efficiency point is one that I hadn't thought about in the terms until we started our discussions for this. And I really like that term, that phrase, and the idea of being, in TerraMystiCon, you're like building up your resources and then you're pouring those resources into scoring outlets, right? And so basically the trade-off is that the pile of resources you're building up is less, but you're going to pour it into like a bigger multiplier on the scoring efficiency and earlier than some of the other factions that are building up. And I think that's like a useful lens for thinking about this. The one other thing I just wanted to highlight is there are games where if you want to play more expansive, you might have to compromise on your starting positions, right? Maybe you're in a color sandwich or something. So if you want to, be able to expand later, you have to start in crappier spots. But now you can't actually develop that efficiently, or you're not actually getting early leech. And so in that situation, the playing tall is, you know what? I'm gonna start in a way that sort of kills my ability to expand later, but lets me have a really sort of, my development efficiency round 1 is a lot more effective. So I'm like getting off the ground with way more speed, even though I can't build out later. I'm gonna just start pouring that stuff into scoring outlets quickly. So we're gonna dive into 2 examples in a second, but we're gonna use this lens. So we're gonna show you guys the setup. I think it'll be kind of interesting to hear your thoughts on this as well. and why the setup that we're looking at, makes us think of playing tall. But again, late dwelling grounds, this is all fairly obvious, but again, because you're playing tall, you're not building dwellings. So late dwelling grounds are really good for scoring, so you don't want that for playing tall. We want to be able to go culty, so you're looking for no cult factions opposing you. You want to make sure, ideally, all 3 of those scoring scrolls are in the game. TP. We were discussing dwelling scoring being in the game isn't a deal breaker. There are times where, but these 3 in particular, and you probably don't want it in the game, but it's not a deal breaker. And then playing tall is more often the answer when you're in a tough color wheel situation. It's not exclusively limited to that, but I think when you're in those situations where there isn't that nice expansive opportunity, that's really where you should be looking for tall. But sometimes I actually think it is just the best line. So the first example here is going to be halflings, tall halflings. So yeah, yeah, this could be tall halflings. And also known as humans. So here's the setup. Can you guys see that? So here, I've labeled the seat numbers, and this is a game at a pretty strong table. So yeah, one of the people's in the room. I don't know if they'll recognize the game. So let's use our general considerations here, right? So we can see no cult factions are in the game. Interesting. We see pass scroll tiles. We see no big building scroll, but we see a couple that we like. But this makes us a little nervous, right? We don't have all the scoring scrolls we might want to see. And then look at this track, right? This track is just hideous. It's awful, right? Oh my god, that's atrocious. And then only 2 scoring scrolls. You're like, what the heck am I going to do here, right? So you're going to play tall. So this is what we're sort of processing here. It's also interesting. We've got 3 factions with 9 power and bolt 2, so it's kind of interesting. So halflings here, right? Because of the 3 power scrolls, halflings are not going to get double dig. They're not looking like they're going to get dig scroll, so we have to think about our game plan. So here we are at auction results. So we've got a pretty strong table. We've got about a 700 elo, a couple 480s, and me. And so we're now at auction, and you can see I have a little bit of a point lead. So there's a color sandwich over here, so NGs have a nice point lead. What you'll see at the end of the game is I actually just straight up outscore NGs. So here, I'm going to outscore NGs straight up by building very, very, very little. So here we have starting placements. You can I chose to start here instead of here. I just was didn't 100% trust the Darklings player to not completely F me by starting there. They're fine, but they're a good player, but I just was let me just start there. I probably should have started here, but whatever. I just want to make sure I didn't get killed right out of the gate. In seat, did I say halflings were seat 1? I think I did. So I'm on priest. So the plan here is and here's end of round 1. My round 1 actions are single dig 2 new dwellings, priest to air. And I temple to earth 1 to score with those dwellings. And again, what I see here is that the scoring is atrocious, and there's going to be a lot of competition for scoring favors. Earth 1's going to help me, not that much here, but ultimately I'm going to take all 3 of the scoring favors anyway, so it's it's not clear to me that was the best decision, but I'm also not sure it's wrong, even though I don't score that much with it. So now we've got some dwellings down, we're passing into round 2, and notice, part of the reason I get a crappy pass roll for round 2, this is not really that great a game that I'm showing you, so it's sort of surprising that it works out that well. So it's sort of hopefully it gives you a sense of how doable this is. So my only power action, so one of the things you'll see is I don't actually use my power very well here. It still works out quite well. So I only single dig in round 1. in end of round 2, I've just done a second temple, so I TP in a TP round, another temple, another priest to air, and I take air 2 here. So maybe I could have taken air 2 round 1 and earth 1 round 2. Oh well. And I'm going to get 2 air digs off the cult in this round, and then I do another pretty crappy pass. Go me. And then here's what we are able to do in round 3. So round 3 is another TP round. So I just, I had those 2 cult digs, right? So I had 2 cult digs, and I built those 2 dwellings, and then I TP, no power actions again, pass. This is a really lame game, right? You're like, wow, this is winning, doesn't seem like it, right? So now, and forgive me, I snipped it a little bit late. And one thing you'll see here, so this is actually, and so this is now what I look like after round 4. I freeze framed it actually started round 5, which is why the income's up. And you'll see my points lead's gone, I'm down on Darklings, no neighbor energies have caught me, basically mermaids have passed me, you're like, this guy's buried, right? So let's just spectate a different game. But I, so this is the, where, did I take so I get coins action and then I temple for water 1, and then I dig scroll here, and what you'll see is like, that's actually the last hex I'm gonna take. I'm gonna play 7 structured halflings here. So that's actually my last dig. I build there, I'm gonna put 2 priests to earth because I wanna play culty, and then I pass on to TP for round 5. So again, forgive me, this is actually the round 4 round, which was also TP's. Was it TP scoring? Temple. It was temple. Okay, so I did a temple for water 1, and then we're here. So again, it doesn't look like much, and now I'm caught on points, and I have very little upside. Darklings are already in the north, so any hope of north connection's gone. So now we're, this is now what I look like end of round 5, and you'll see my points have gone up. So basically, I TP for a town. I'm going to take the 8-point town, not the 2 key. I need points, right? I think I can win cults without taking the 2 key, and I need to score. So I'm going to take the 8-point town. I SA for error 1. I build 3 more TPs. I take the 11-point town. Points are my friend. And then basically I'm timing up to end on the ship point scroll. So I'm like watching some moves, and I can see that I can, so then I start plussing ship, do a little more nonsense, and I have zero dwellings on the board, which is cool. But I've gone up air call, so I am going to get some workers back, right? So, and then the other reason I kind of like, so I've got all my dwellings back on my board, and I'm going to pass for 8 + 4, and then in round 6, and this is one of the reasons I kind of like halflings tall, is that they have, like, the cheaper dig upgrades is actually an efficient way to score. Like, that's one way to think about it, right? And then you can also, if you've got spare workers, you pour them into the ground for a few extra points. So the way, what I'm showing is not the only way to play tall halflings, of course, but like, it's kind of a wacky one. So I finished round 5, 0 dwellings. I'm gonna build 0 dwellings round 6. So end of round, all I do this round is I plus ship 2 more times, I plus digs twice, I pour 3 digs into the ground, call it a day. I'm passing at 143, and you can see I just scored a lot along the way. And this is where you can see like final scores on the left there, and that I actually just straight up outscored MGs, which is kind of nuts. I played 7 structure halflings, and the reason is the setup is so low scoring. It was really, really hard to score, period, in this game. So it doesn't help as much as you'd think to be no neighbor enemies in this situation. So after I'll hand it over to Barnawal, and then we can, I'm happy to talk more about this example later.
I gotta say, that game was insane. I don't know how the heck you got scored no neighbor energy. I know like the track sucked, but still. I was trying to cross it as you were like talking through it. Ending round 5 with no dwellings on board, so that's okay. Anyways, yeah, so that's halflings. Oh, you said okay. So do that. Alright, so my example is Tall Mermaids. Sorry to advance for your it's that game, they're go. And yeah, so Fickles mentioned a couple reasons why halflings work. And the main reason for me why mermaids work is, I don't know if you can see it, but the shipping fee tile, and the fact that you start with 1 shipping already and you can go up to 5 shipping, and you can score a lot more points on shipping fee than other factions can. There's other things you can take advantage of as mermaids playing tall. The flexibility is nice, but really that shipping fee is, for me, like the big thing. And so I kind of just clipped it here. I couldn't use Fickles' nice layout, unfortunately this game is too old. But this is, some of you may be familiar with this game. It's like a fire token game from the 2nd season? I don't know exactly, but like 2.5 years ago or so that I played it. And I wasn't as nice as Fickles, I didn't blow the names, unfortunately. Basically this is like the point where I jump to mermaids, and maybe just before I get into my thoughts, I wanted to get anyone else's opinion to see why you might want to play tall here as mermaids. Like, what jumps out to you looking at the setup?
Color sandwich.
Yeah, first thing you know is color sandwich. Mermaids are sandwiched.
Very.
Sorry, what else?
Rolling's round 1 and 2, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, which is good for mermaids in general. Like, you don't have to play tall with that, but you know, you still want to expand early, and there's no late bowling rounds, so you're just going to be building up if you're following the track. Yeah, really the biggest thing is the color sandwich. You're just going to be limited for expansion in general without really fighting hard for it, which is inefficient. And then the presence of the ship EV tile, which again is just good for mermaids in general, but especially playing tall helps a lot. So I got a lot written down here, sorry for this slide, but I'm just going to kind of go through it. So what I look at is there's 3 scoring bonuses in play, which is mainly ship VP here, which is nice for playing tall. Kind of like you mentioned, early bowling rounds, and then into later trade post rounds, town, temple, trading posts. It's a natural kind of build-up sequence. Double water rewards. I mean, that's just good for mermaids in general. That's maybe why I jumped them here rather than putting them down further. Still a good perk playing tall. And yeah, color sandwich. So again, good incentive to play tall when you're sandwiched. And I kind of had a pretty specific game plan coming in. Some of this might be revisionist history, to be honest. I can't remember exactly what I was thinking at the time. But I know one thing I was thinking about was getting the shipping fee bonus hard. Getting a lot of points from that. And that was like the meat of my strategy, the bread and butter. Really just be a slave to the track. I mean, that's just me, so whether I'm playing tall or not, I'm just a slave to the track. But yeah, as we already described. And I really wanted to do 2 early temples, so I wanted to open up the temple for Fire 1. The priest is good for cult and shipping, and of course the coins are good for shipping, and I'm really planning on scoring with shipping, and scoring efficiently with shipping, so I need those early. And then a temple round 3 for Water 1 to really kind of, score with Water 1 and score later with Trade Post. And then the second priest is also useful again for cult and shipping. And I kind of wanted to do 2 towns in the center of the map. Kind of standard mermaids things, but just really kind of take over the center as much as possible. Hit cult rewards and then score well as I could on cults is another nice thing. So really, like, you can see here that it's not just one section of the game plan. Like, the meat of it is things should be tile hard, but there's a lot of other things kind of incorporated into the game plan that I think I kind of need to do to have a shot to. I think that's it, right? Oh no, okay. And also, lastly, to be disruptive, we haven't really talked about it, but like a little perk again of playing tall is you have less resources you need for yourself. So sometimes you can afford to spend some to hurt other players. You have to be very careful with this. You still can hurt yourself if you can really kill your own game. So it's very, I wouldn't always recommend it, but at times it can be useful. All right. So going into the opening. I clicked this here like at the end of round 1. But I kind of mentioned my strategy here already was to open the temple for Fire 1 and just to follow the track. Just get dwellings out. So I doubled up, got the dwellings out, the usual stuff. Yeah, my priority was to get economy going. I could have also considered opening trading posts and 4 dwellings, but as I said, I really like the coins and the priest for going tall, to get shipping going, to get cults going. And I'm looking towards the next round here. And again, my plan is to follow the track, to get dwellings out, to get my economy going. So for this, again, as I kind of mentioned earlier, you want digs to secure town territory if they get space. So I think I did take the big building tile here and not the coin tiles you normally would take as mermaids. I kind of treat the workers as 2/3 of a hard dig, and that would help me get another dwelling out extra. So broadly, that's my plan here for round 1. Alright, so for round 2, this is again right before I passed round 2, and you can kind of see some things. So I used the workers in hard B3 up here, and that really kind of was a move to secure town territory for myself in the north, but also block Darklings. I'm not focusing on the player's game too much here, but Darklings are trying to kind of connect to the top, and that really kind of put a damper on those plans for them. So it's kind of a nice thing to help me out, but also to hurt them. Another priority I had at this point was to start securing coins for the future. I'm not advancing shipping yet. Right now I want my fruits for cults. In this round I fruits of fire to get the cult reward. But later on I'm going to be wanting to advance ship, and even with fire I need more coins. And so I ended up passing here instead of building this dwelling, which I think I was kind of nuts for doing, but it's happened. And it was kind of like to get my own coins, but also to guide for witches. And I think witches have a really good game if they got a lot of coins, got 3 towns. I don't think I can beat that as tall mermaid. So I kind of thought that was pretty necessary as well too. So yeah, I passed him the 6-point bonus, 3 coins X in next round. You'll see what the resources kind of look like for the following round. At this point I was also playing for round 3. I tend to like to kind of plan for the next round at the end of the previous round, if that makes sense. And really my plan for round 3 was to couple for water 1, secure the water cult spade here, and those are my main priorities for that round. So looking at round 3, it's a trading post round now, and I kind of put everyone's scores and resources on the right so you can see where everything's at. Kind of like Fickles' game, like I had a nice point lead going into my game, and now we're all pretty even. So on the surface, it's a little scary, right? You're sandwiched, you don't have a points lead, you don't have an immediate source of points, but you do have a ton of points. So I mean, yeah, it's nice. You can do things with points, but I'm not going to come into play with later. I can't do much with this round. And this is after the points action. So 22 coins, 7 workers. I already mentioned I'm going to be tough for water 1 for water. One thing to notice is it's a trading post round, and you might think you want to build a lot of trading posts here. Sometimes you would, I think, but in this game I didn't think it made sense. There's a trading post round around 6, I can hit them there as well. I clearly don't need more coins, so I didn't think it was necessary. I kind of want to try to continue to build my economy, so building this dwelling, still trying as much as possible to get income, to get resources, you do need them. And then this is where I really started to focus on position for this ship BP bonus scroll. So right now nomads are on it, but I have my eye kind of peeled on that, and I want to jump on it for the next round when I can, because I really feel like I need to hit it in rounds 4 and 6 this game to score enough points. It's just such an efficient way of scoring. To hit shipping advances multiple times in the ship BP bonus, like it's just so good for scoring. So that was really my kind of. I just remember when I played this game, I was nervous whenever I wasn't on that tile. That was like my mindset. So I was nervous here. And yeah, on round 4, as I said, start scoring. Hit the talent round and ship BP. So moving on to round 4. The first thing you notice is I do end up on the ship BP tile. Thankfully, I was able to kind of outweigh nomads and hop onto it. And so my priority from this point onwards really in the game is to score efficiently. And in this round, I saw a couple options. The first of which was to do 2 talents in the talent round, hit the extra track for extra 10 points. The only problem with this though is it requires building a sanctuary, taking fire 2, and it limits what I can do with the ship DP tile, I think. Or it limits me in other ways at least. So ultimately I kind of ended up just settling for 1 high scoring town. And then I had a lot of extra coins and priests here, and I just used them for ship advances to score directly off of that. There may have been other paths, to be honest. I don't know, so I'm going to tell me if you find other ones, but like there's different options here. But again, I'm just looking at the ship DP and knowing that it's so efficient, especially if I get in round 6, that it just makes a lot of sense to advance shipping. So yeah, I have options. And so with this option, like I really thought it was important, again, that I land on chip DP in round 6. So my plan here is to have as long of a round 4 as possible. If I remember correctly, I didn't actually have to delay or anything, but it was on my mind the whole time. I was like, I need to keep the chip DP out of other people's hands so it's available in round 5 and so I can jump on it quickly for round 6. Kind of have like long round, short round, long round. And I think that kind of sequence can be really important in a tall game in general for hitting bonus tiles, but like especially Mermaids with chip DP, because it's just such a huge source of points you don't have access to otherwise. So really planning for that early, I think, is a key thing. Alright, so going to round 5, again I kind of highlight the situation here on the right. Yeah, again on MrFickles I couldn't do every round, I couldn't fit it in. But at this point again, I'm a little ahead in points now, but not a ton ahead. My cult position is okay, it's decent. I'm not doing much on network. I'm not on chip DP right now, so I'm not scoring a ton this round. So my position looks okay, it doesn't look like anything amazing, anything incredible. And again, that's why it's so early for me to get on chip DP for round 6 to really boost those points. So my plan here is passing. And when I'm thinking of passing early, I'm thinking about my priorities and what I need to do. To me, the important actions here are building a temple to hit the track, and to get scoring favor, to get cult position, things like that. I want to send a priest and cult for the rewards. I want to try and get dark things off the water here. I didn't, but I'm going to try. So I sent a priest and water. And then I want a bonus spade, so you would think a priority would be to use the bonus spade. It's a really good bonus, but for me it doesn't do a whole lot here. You know, I'm at 8 structures on the board. I'm not really fighting for network, so it's not that important. I don't have a third town coming anywhere. I could use the spade on this block in the north, whatever that index is, and then try to bridge across. Then I have to fight for a bridge, and that would be nice in theory, but I also like prolongs my round, so it's very awkward. So I ended up kind of having a plan to not use the spade, which was kind of fun. And really the kind of thing you can only do late on, like in round 5. Like in round 1 or 2, I would never pass on this spade, I don't think. Like it'd have to be a crazy situation. But late in the game, in a tall game especially, that kind of action is just not important. You know, I know Earth 1, I'm not scoring off it. What's it doing for me, really? So yeah, I did 2 actions here. I got on the chip DP, luckily, and got on the round 6. So that's 73 points and a bunch of resources. This is a 4 points action, so I got 4 points. But yeah, again, I'm on the chip DP. That's all. I'm going to keep looking at that, keep mentioning that, because it's what matters. And really in round 6, I just want to score efficiently. Obviously advancing the 5 ship, building as many water 1 TPs as I can. Sadly, I have to do a sanctuary, but that's okay. I'll take a high score in town. Fight for cult position as much as possible, try to squeeze as many cult points as I can. And then now I'm actually looking at network. So I wasn't thinking about network all game, but looking at this now, Darkling's network is not good. If they don't connect, at least. Spoiler alert, they didn't connect. And so I'm kind of looking at potentially getting clear on network at this point in the game. Like it wasn't my strategy at all, but now I've kind of pivoted a little bit, now that it looks like it's a possibility. And so I remember when I was playing, trying to avoid giving Darklings leash, and considering building this dwelling in the south here to kind of give me an extra structure if it was going to score me points. And so really that's what I did in round 6. And at the end of the round, once I passed, you really see my points skyrocket. I ended the game with the most in-game points. No one's haven't passed yet, but they're on a pass tile. They're going to get 105 or whatnot, something like that, 108. And so after passing, I do have the most in-game points, which you often want as a tall strategy, because you're usually not scoring too many in-game points. Cult points are nice, but like, you need a lot of in-game points in general. And so that's what it looked like after passing. You can see my board too. You can see I built 8 structures. Don't have much off my board really. I took a late air 2 for cult position, so it's really mainly just water 1 and an air 1 that scored me 3 points. It doesn't seem amazing, but I scored points along the way, so it was helpful in that way. And yeah, I don't have much, but it's a lot of points, right? It's kind of nice. And so this is the very end, once everything is said and done, whatever. I think I could have been a little closer than it was. I got to be a little fortunate to get network points, things like that at the end. But basically, kind of just to go quickly to go back to the game plan. Okay, I don't know how I animated this, but sure. These are kind of what I had listed at the start. And really, I did everything except for maybe building a lot of dwellings early. I passed on at least one dwelling I could have built. Everything else I really did accomplish in the game. And even though I accomplished all that, I don't know if I'd say I barely won, but again, it was pretty close. So I really needed all this to kind of, to beat someone like strong players with good game plans. You can't just rely on one thing, even in a tall strategy. Like, yes, the ship VP was kind of the meat of my strategy, but I need other things to do along the way, basically. Oh yeah, and I was disrupted. That worked out. So just to quickly look at the game stats at the end, a few highlights I want to point out. First of all was the economy. So if you look at coins collected, I didn't highlight it, but that's pretty similar among all factions, tall or not. The big difference again is workers. I basically had 1 round's worth of workers less, like 8 workers less or so than other factions do. But in contrast, I scored the most with focus cards. 27 points overall on GDP this game. So that again shows the efficiency that it can be. And unlike Fickles, I did not score the most victory points in this game. In game, I actually scored tied for the least. Oh yeah. No, I don't care. Tied for the least, but again, I started at 30, so less of a big deal, and didn't take much to reach. And that's not everything. That's what we talked about.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
We did talk.
Incredible. Yeah, I don't know if you have time to question or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
just come up and chat with us.
yeah, talk to us if you want to. Also share us your games. I think we talked about this. We'd love to see the tall games. You can do it with lots of different factions. We'd love to believe you can do a tall alchemist game. We haven't seen it, so if you got tall alchemist games, send it our way.